fold. But let's get into both of these teams' path to the finals. Of course, people were talking about the Celtics cakewalk to the NBA Finals, and as a Boston Celtics fan, I hated it because I was like, okay.
Oh, you hated it?
No, I hated the narrative of people saying that it was a cakewalk. I'm like, well, people were saying that Boston was going to get through the East anyway. So for them to have this now and then people finding ways to nitpick at stuff, I'm like, okay. My only concern, of course, I saw it in the Pacers series, was I felt like a team competed with them offensively enough to get their offense ready for the NBA Finals. That's what I thought that was. I thought this was all just not a scrimmage, but basically practice to get to the NBA Finals and get their offense in order. As for the Dallas Mavericks, of course, we know they beat the Clippers in 6. Of course, they had James Harden.
Without Kawhi for like half of that series.
And that was a disappointment because when Kawhi's playing, he looks good, and then all of a sudden, he's out. So we had that series with Dallas, the Thunder. I can't remember if I picked the Thunder. But overall, OKC, just their offense isn't there yet. So they bowed out gracefully. And then we got the Minnesota series, which was a complete surprise to me. The games were close at certain points, but then you will see Luka Doncic take over. You saw Kyrie take over. But what do you think about these two teams' path to the finals? The Celtics destroying the Eastern Conference and the Mavericks getting past all the other Western favorites.
We'll talk for the Celtics, right? It wasn't a cakewalk, but at the same time, you play who you play. It's not their fault that some guys weren't available at all. The top stars weren't available, or some guys just got hurt midway through the series. They lost KP in the first round. Hasn't been back yet. Now we'll see if he comes back into the finals and what's all signs of pointing to him being available, how effective he's going to be. But you play who you play. I mean, they were the best team in the league from beginning to end, had the best record in the East. They got home court. They did what they were supposed to do in the season. You can't blame them. It is what it is. I mean, I think I saw Bill Simmons minute. Well, I probably shouldn't say that because it's Bill Simmons and he's a homer. But he made the point up like, LeBron had a cakewalk in the East virtually from 2011 to like 2018. There was no competition for him in the East. I'm pretty sure with LeBron, he didn't play outside of Derrick Rose. He didn't play a first-team All-NBA player in his run to the finals from that span. I'm pretty sure
outside of that,
no. Again.
No.
Yeah.
So I think Paul George was third team 1 year, but no. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, you play who you play. It is now. If you're a Celtics fan, you could be concerned, saying, "Hey, now we're going to have to ramp it up a few levels now because we finally have real competition. It's the finals." But these guys are professionals. Yes. I think that they're going to be ready, especially JB and J2, who's been there before. Especially Tatum, who wants to rewrite all the wrongs that happened 2 years ago in the finals. And so I think they'll be ready.
Yes.
As for the Mavs, again, I thought it was a great run, great moves at the trade deadline with Gafford and Washington to go along with Lively. I was shocked to see how effective that duo was of Lively and Gafford, those two athletic bigs who was looked like they're jumping on pogo sticks out there and just catching these crazy alleys and the defense that they're bringing to the game. I didn't see that happening. I do think I'm not sure they're the best team in the West. I just think that they were fortunate to avoid Denver because I see a world where Denver would have beat them because Denver has somebody who would want to guard Luka and Aaron Gordon, right? Like the Thunder did in Lou Dort, and then you have Joker. I don't think Joker would have been as bothered.
Also KCP for Kyrie.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So I think that they avoided a matchup that probably wouldn't go in their favor. But hey, you play who you play. And Luka's not 100%, banged up, bad knees, bad ankle.
He's hitting game winners. He's hitting game winners.
Crazy.
He wasn't that fast to begin. He wasn't that fast to begin with. So I don't know what to take on the hurt part. But no, kudos to the Dallas Mavericks, man. Kudos to Jayson Kidd, who I also want to talk about later on. But kudos to the Dallas Mavericks. They put all their eggs in the Kyrie Irving basket. They tanked last year to get Lively in the draft. It worked. They made some smart moves, flipping Grant Williams for P.J. Washington, getting Daniel Gafford in. It worked. These are the moves that teams need to make in order to, one, make sure their superstars happy, because there was rumblings about Luka being unsettled and those rumors and stuff like that for the past couple years, even when they got Kyrie last year. So for them to continue to add to this team and bolster this team, kudos to the Dallas Mavericks. Now, their run to the finals, again, I was surprised. I believe I picked Denver to get to the finals as well. But seeing how they navigated it, they took care of business against the Clippers. They took care of business against OKC, which I was surprised. I thought that was going to go 7. I think I picked the Thunder. But for those guys to actually just put away those teams and then put away how they put away Minnesota. Either Minnesota's still immature and still young. Of course, they're led by Anthony Edwards, who's 22 years old. But it's like they beat the defending champions. You don't do that by accident. That didn't happen by accident, all right? So definitely give kudos to the Dallas Mavericks, Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving for just putting on a heck of a performance. Those guys were cooking in the Western Conference Finals. The performances of Gafford, I think, has come alive. I think I joked in the group chat that he's a JaVale McGee without the Shaqting antics, the Shaqting the full antics. He blocks shots, he catches alleys, he rim runs, he plays with energy, and you gotta love that for the Dallas Mavericks because when you think about that, I think about Harden and Clint Capella, how that duo worked on the lobs and stuff like that, and the pick and roll and stuff like that. You can see that with Luka and Gafford. But yeah, kudos to the Dallas Mavericks. As for the Celtics, man, I'm just happy they got to the finals, almost unscathed. KP went down in the first round, but that's what you want. This is what you want. You want highly competitive basketball, and I think we're going to get that out of these two teams. Looking forward, let's talk about the championship belt for the best duos in the NBA. You got Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum on one side. You got Luka and Kyrie on the other side, representing the Western Conference, representing the Dallas Mavericks. What do you think about this two duos? Because I think this is something that has kind of gone away in the conversation. But I think overall, since 2020 with LeBron and AD, the NBA has kind of moved away from the big three era, right? Like we had the Heatles. Yeah, we had the big three Celtics, et cetera, and teams always trying to find a third star. We've seen how it failed in Phoenix with Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal, who they added Bradley Beal to that equation, and how that didn't work out. It looks like the NBA is getting back to duos, and these two duos of Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. What do you make of these two teams? These two duos.
Two
and I have
great
the numbers at the top there
because they've been duos in their own rights, putting up crazy numbers throughout these playoffs. I look at JT. I do think the better duo is Luka and Kyrie. Even if they don't win the championship, because I do think Boston is a deeper team overall, and they have more cohesion. Been together longer. Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown have been together longer. But this just reminds me a lot of I've been saying that this is the best Kyrie's looked since playing with LeBron, and that 16 to 18, 17 stretch. So, and very reminiscent how they just have a great feel for each other and when to know when to let them. Like you saw in Game 5 in the Clipper game, Luka went for 20 in the first quarter. All right, cool, Kyrie, it's your turn. 15 in the second quarter. It was seamless. They didn't miss a beat. So
it's weird because
it's tough match. It's gonna be a great match.
You think but everyone. Yeah, but everybody's first thing about this duo teaming up was how there's only one basketball. That's the thing with all these scores now. There's only one basketball. How they're going to share the basketball. Kyrie needs the basketball. Luka needs the basketball. But they have been able to find a blend where they play off each other. They know how to use the team around them really well. Luka, of course, has eyes in the back of his head. He always knows where Kyrie is going to be. But they have been able to blend. What do you think about that? Because usually when people say, hey, there's only one ball, how is this going to work? These two guys figured it out. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it shows a lot of maturity on Kyrie's part, being the elder statesman in the relationship, being in the league. For how many years has Kyrie now in the league? 11, 12, maybe?
He was in the 12 draft, so it's this is his 12th season.
Because this is Luka's 6th season, so yeah, probably the 12th season.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that plays a role to him too. He's been there before. He knows this is going to be his 4th finals appearance. He's been there before. He knows what it takes to win. I think this is more. I really think that this is a better that he feels it's a better situation than playing with LeBron. Not because of LeBron, but due to the fact that when you win, LeBron gets all the praise by the media and everybody. But when you lose, it's always a supporting cast. It was the supporting cast. What did they do? Or what didn't they do? Why didn't LeBron win the championship? Whereas if they lose the championship this season, the Celtics, you're not gonna hear that. The Mavs lost.
Yeah, no.
It's gonna be the Mavs. The Mavs and Luka and Kyrie came up short. It's not gonna be Luka's teammates let him down. You know what I'm saying? The media's not gonna try to.
And a lot of people didn't have Dallas here. So that's another aspect of it.
And they're playing with house money. And kudos to Jason Kidd, because I think that Kyrie has a lot of respect for Jason Kidd, him being a point guard, playing for the Nets, which is Kyrie's team, because Kyrie's from Jersey. So I think that goes a long way too. Him being able to balance those two different personalities and how they're able to coexist on the court.
And that's not easy. We're gonna talk about Jason Kidd in a minute, but that isn't easy to where Kyrie has came out and had all this baggage somewhere else. coming to your franchise. Of course, Dallas embraced them, and I think that was the first good step for Dallas to actually pinpoint, find a star who was disgruntled, and that's what all these teams are trying to do, find a disgruntled star and bring him in. It worked with Kyrie. Even last year where there were some issues, injuries and stuff like that, and they really didn't play together, so there was no real scope of those two together as a tandem. Coming into this season, they have a full off season together to get ready, and it kind of just built throughout the regular season. But as these two duos go, looking at Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, as dynamic as they come, they all can create, score at the basket, get to the line, especially shoot with efficiency, and they can get hot. These are two of the streakiest scorers, not in terms of like J.R. Smith streaky. Like if they get hot, it's going to be a long time.
Night for the opposition.
Yeah, it's going to be a long time before they cool down. It's not, at some point, it doesn't matter what you do. We've seen Kyrie put on crazy performances this playoff, scoring multiple 30-point games. Luka Doncic, I think he's leading the playoffs in points. I believe I saw you post
points,
that.
Rebounds, and so the stat is he's the first player ever in history, Luka, entering the finals to lead the playoffs in points, rebounds, and assists. That's crazy. I'm kind of shocked LeBron's never did that. Well, actually, you know what? I think LeBron. I'm going to guess LeBron's done at least points and rebounds and assists. Maybe not points, but I think he's probably done rebound and assist before entering the finals.
Yeah. But it's just like that's how dynamic this tandem is for Dallas. Now look at Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum. They're more, even though both of these duos are ISO-centric, they both can ISO. Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown are a little bit more not as creative as Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. But they have a two-way personality where they can lock down on the defensive end. And there's a little difference, right? Because the Luka Doncic Kyrie Irving pairing is putting pressure on you offensively, whereas Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum, they can get downhill and finish at the basket, what we've seen. But I think the defensive edge on that side of the ball, where they can actually get some stops on the other end, pays dividends. So we're having a style of fights here, right? And especially when you look at these two teams as well, and especially looking at styles make series, styles make fights, et cetera, et cetera. The shooting of Boston, which is going to come into play in this series, versus the ISO creation of Dallas between Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. What do you think about that matchup? Because Boston, one of the best shooting, I believe they're second in shooting in the league, second in offense, and versus Dallas, who really rely on Kyrie and Luka to create everything. What do you think about those two dynamics of both these teams?
Yeah, like you said, like this is going to be a good like styles make fights type scenario here, where Boston took the most threes, made the most threes this season. This Mavs team, as the season progressed and in these playoffs, has been really, really good at running off the shooters from 3-point line and contesting at the 3-point line. So I want to see how they're going to be able. But they haven't seen an offense like this, right? With everybody, when they play five out, everybody can shoot. Luka was essentially chilling last series. You got Jaden McDaniels. You can't really hide him on anything.
Yes.
So who are you going to put him on? I'm going to guess maybe Drew Holiday to start off with on him. But yeah, so it's
tough.
How it's going to play out.
It's tough because now they have two guys to hide, right? Like Kyrie and Luka. And I'm not going to say those guys are going to go down without a fight and just let everybody score. But those are the guys that you're going to attack if you're Boston. You're going to try to get Kyrie Irving. You're going to try to get Luka Doncic in pick and rolls. Try to stay away from PJ Washington, whatever the case may be. But it's definitely a different series for the Mavs. And I expect the shooting of Horford and KP to come into play because, again, Dallas hasn't faced a shooting team like this, as you said, in the playoffs. Especially that can stretch the floor, play five out, and change the dynamics of the court where it's, even though you try to hide somebody, now they're just going to, Boston has been the kings of mismatches, hunting the mismatches all season. I believe Joe Mazzulla even said at one point in the season that kind of stagnated their offense a little bit, where they were kind of just relying on that too much. But in this series, that's what you're going to be trying to do. You're going to be trying to get guys out of the place. You're going to be trying to have bigs on Derek White and Drew Holiday and see what they can do. You're going to have Drew Holiday posting up Kyrie, trying to get easy post points, which we've seen. So it's going to be definitely a different dynamic. But on the other side, Boston has usually been facing either one scorer, right? They had Tyler Hero in the first series. They had Bam Adebayo, et cetera. They had Donovan Mitchell go crazy in Cleveland before he bowed out. Andrew Nembhard, for some reason, for the Indiana Pacers, was a god against us. I don't know what it is with small, quick scoring guards. They just have a way of just manipulating Boston's defense. but definitely Boston has not faced a team with like Luka, who's as isocentric and who has that much creation with the ball in his hands, and also as Kyrie Irving, who's a great scorer. So it's definitely going to be a different look for Boston right now because they have to adjust to that. Of course, they have multiple defenders. They have Derek White, Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum, even Horford on those switches. To a certain degree. I don't know how Horford's going to do in this round with those switches if he gets out there, but you're thinking if KP comes back and can provide any rim protection and get some shooting on his side, that's going to pay dividends for Boston. But Boston, again, has not faced a duo like Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic.
Yeah, I mean, like, you talking about KP coming back. Like, do you honestly believe he should be playing, that he's going to be effective in this series? I think that series rides essentially on KP's effectiveness.
Now that has been
about a month since he's been out.